Pattern interrupt. Talent is irrelevant. Intelligence doesn't matter. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the most successful people aren't the smartest or most gifted. They're simply the ones who show up consistently, especially when they don't feel like it. You'll walk away with practical tools to build unshakable consistency that transforms not just your habits, but your entire life. I want to tell you about a humiliating moment that changed everything for me. Years ago, I was invited to speak at a major conference, an opportunity I had dreamed about. I had weeks to prepare, but I kept putting it off. I work well under pressure, I told myself. I'll feel more inspired closer to the deadline. The night before, I stayed up frantically preparing, fueled by caffeine and panic. The next day, standing on that stage, I froze. My brilliant last-minute insights evaporated. I stumbled through, watching faces in the audience shift from expectation to disappointment. That moment taught me something profound about success that I was completely missing. I had been relying on motivation, that fleeting feeling of inspiration, rather than building systems of consistency. I was waiting to feel ready instead of making myself ready through daily discipline. I see this same pattern everywhere I go. People waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. Talented individuals who start strong but fade when the excitement wears off. Leaders who make big promises but deliver inconsistent results. Maybe you've experienced this yourself, setting ambitious goals in January only to abandon them by February, starting projects with enthusiasm only to leave them unfinished, or telling yourself, "Tomorrow I'll really get serious," over and over again. The problem isn't your intention. It's not your intelligence or your talent. It's your relationship with consistency. And today, I'm going to show you how to transform that relationship forever. Here's exactly what you'll learn in the next few minutes. 1. The motivation myth. Why relying on motivation is setting yourself up for failure. And how to build a disciplined system that works even when you don't feel inspired. This alone will put you ahead of 95% of people who never achieve their goals. 2. The compound effect of small actions ***. How tiny, consistent efforts create exponential results over time, and the specific framework for identifying which small actions will create the biggest impact in your life. 3. The trust connection ***. Why consistency builds the most critical relationship in your life, the one with yourself, and how this self-trust becomes the foundation for everything you achieve. 4. The mastery mindset ***. How to embrace the boring, repetitive work that underlies all significant achievement, turning what others avoid into your competitive advantage. 5. The resistance response system ***. A practical method to recognize resistance as a growth signal rather than a stop sign, allowing you to push through the exact moments when others quit. Let's start with the fundamental truth that most people miss about success. We live in a culture obsessed with talent, with natural gifts, with overnight success stories. We celebrate the prodigy, the genius, the person who makes it look effortless. But here's what most people miss. Behind every overnight success are thousands of hours of unseen work. Behind every natural talent is relentless practice. The world sees the outcome but rarely witnesses the process. Think about the most successful people you admire. The entrepreneurs, the athletes, the artists, the leaders who have truly made an impact. Do you think they wake up every single day bursting with motivation? Do you? Think they never face doubt, exhaustion, or the temptation to take the easy path? Thumbnail moment, speaking with intense passion, leaning forward with hands gesturing emphatically. Talent is overrated. Intelligence is not enough. What truly separates those who achieve their goals from those who fall short is consistency. Not when it's easy, but when everything inside you is screaming for comfort and convenience. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't found in talent, luck, or intelligence. It's found in the willingness to keep going when motivation has disappeared. It's about embracing the grind, trusting the process, and understanding that the small, consistent actions you take today are shaping who you become tomorrow. Engagement prompt 2-minute mark. I'm curious. What's one area in your life where you've been waiting for motivation instead of building discipline? Comment below with your answer, because naming it is the first step to changing it. Your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Let me tell you about my friend Michael. Michael was brilliant, the kind of person who could understand complex concepts immediately. He started a business the same time I did. In the beginning, he was miles ahead of me. His ideas were better, his presentations more polished, his network more impressive. But Michael had a problem. He only worked when inspiration struck. When he felt motivated, he was unstoppable, working 16-hour days, generating revolutionary ideas. But when that feeling faded, so did his output. Days would pass without progress. He'd wait for that familiar surge of motivation to return. Meanwhile, I made a different choice. After my humiliating conference experience, I committed to showing up every single day, regardless of how I felt. Some days I produced brilliant work. Most days I produced average work. But I produced work consistently. 3 years later, Michael's business had stalled while mine continued to grow. Not because I was smarter, I wasn't. Not because my ideas were better, they often weren't. But because consistency compounds over time in ways that sporadic brilliance cannot. The hard truth is that motivation is fleeting. It's like a spark. It burns bright but fades quickly. We all know that feeling when motivation hits, that sudden rush of energy, that excitement to start something new. It's intoxicating. But what happens when that feeling fades? What happens when the early morning alarm goes off and you no longer feel that drive? If you rely on motivation alone, you'll only show up when it's convenient, when it feels good, when it's easy. But discipline is what keeps you moving forward even when you don't feel like it. But here's what most people miss about discipline. It's not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about understanding that discomfort is not a signal to stop, but a necessary part of growth. The road to anything worthwhile will be filled with moments of doubt, exhaustion, and setbacks. But it's in those moments, when motivation has disappeared, that your true character is built. High energy break, but wait, there's something even more powerful at work here that most people completely overlook. We tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in a single day, yet we vastly underestimate what we can achieve over the course of a year. We set ambitious goals, aiming to change our lives in an instant, only to become discouraged when we fall short. But what if the key isn't in grand gestures, but in quiet daily commitments? Think about a drop of water. It seems insignificant on its own, but given enough time, that drop of water can carve canyons into solid rock. Power of small daily actions is often invisible in the moment, but their impact is undeniable over time. The difference between success and failure isn't found in one big effort, but in the small choices we make consistently. Science backs this up. A study from the University College London found that on average, it takes 66 days to form a habit, not 21 days, not 30, but 66. That means if you decide today to commit to a small positive action, writing 200 words, reading for 10 minutes, exercising for 15, you may not see the impact immediately, but over time these small actions compound. Engagement prompt 6-minute mark. What small action could you commit to doing every day for the next 66 days? Drop it in the comments and consider this your public commitment. I read every comment and I'll be checking in to see how you're doing with this challenge. Let me tell you about Sarah, a leader in a large organization who was struggling with team turnover. Her team members would initially be excited to work with her, but eventually they would disengage and leave. When I spoke with her team members, a pattern emerged. Sarah was brilliant and charismatic, but wildly inconsistent. One day she'd be fully present, offering mentorship and support. The next day she'd be distant, canceling meetings and changing priorities without explanation. Her team never knew which Sarah would show up, and this uncertainty created anxiety and mistrust. They couldn't rely on her, so they left for leaders who provided consistency, even if they weren't as naturally talented as Sarah. This highlights another crucial dimension of consistency. It builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. And trust is the most valuable currency in relationships, in business, and in leadership. When we lack consistency, we erode trust. When we make promises to ourselves and break them repeatedly, we send a message to our subconscious that our word doesn't hold weight, that our commitments are flexible, that we are not someone who follows through. And the worst part, the next time you set a goal, a tiny voice whispers, "Why bother? You won't stick to it anyway." Now imagine the opposite. Imagine that every time you set a goal, you follow through. Every time you make a promise, you keep it. Imagine the confidence, the strength, the unshakable belief you would build within yourself. Because that's what consistency does. It creates proof. Proof that you are someone who shows up no matter how you feel. Proof that you can be counted on by others and by yourself. And that kind of proof builds an identity that becomes the foundation for everything else. High energy break. But here's what will completely transform your approach to consistency if you truly understand it. Success is not found in the grand moments of triumph. It is not reserved for the few who are constantly inspired, perpetually motivated, or uniquely gifted. Success in its purest form belongs to those who have mastered the art of persistence, those willing to show up day after day, even when the work is dull, even when there's no immediate reward, even when no one is watching. It belongs to those who have learned to love the boring and the repetitive. The world glorifies moments of breakthrough, the championship win, the viral success, the overnight transformation. But the truth is, these moments are just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath them lies an ocean of unseen effort, mundane repetitions, and unwavering commitment. A famous study on world-class violinists found that the best performers weren't necessarily the most talented. They were the ones who practiced relentlessly, even when it was dull, even when they were tired, even when they doubted whether it was making a difference. They showed up. They committed to the work, not just to the outcome. They didn't wait to feel motivated. They relied on discipline. Engagement prompt 12-minute mark. Here's a powerful question to reflect on. What boring, repetitive action in your field might actually be the key to your breakthrough? Share your insight in the comments. Your perspective might help someone else connect the dots in their own journey. Your mind will always find an excuse. It will whisper that you're too tired, that you can start tomorrow, that this one moment of ease won't matter in the grand scheme of things. But what if I told you that every time you give in, you are not just delaying progress, you are reinforcing a habit of stopping? What if every excuse is an act of self-sabotage, a decision that weakens your ability to push forward the next time resistance arises? The truth is, resistance is the signal that you are about to grow. It is the threshold between where you are and where you could be. It is not the enemy, it is the invitation. Every challenge, every moment of struggle, every instinct to quit is an opportunity. It is a moment where you decide who you are going to be. Are you the person who succumbs to the easy path? Or are you the person who endures, who pushes through, who becomes stronger? We've all faced it, that feeling of exhaustion, that voice in our head convincing us that we've done enough. And sometimes it's convincing. But when you push past it, when you go one more step, one more rep, one more hour, something remarkable happens. You prove to yourself that you are capable of more, and that proof accumulates. It becomes evidence of your resilience, evidence that you are not at the mercy of your excuses. Picture yourself a year from now. Think about what you want to accomplish, the life you want to live, the person you want to become. Now ask yourself, what stands between you and that future? It's not some insurmountable obstacle. It's not lack of opportunity. It's not even talent. It is simply the number of times you will push through resistance instead of giving in to it. That is the only variable. If you want to transform your life, you don't need grand gestures or monumental efforts. You need the courage to show up every single day, especially when you don't feel like it. You need to force yourself to be consistent, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Let me leave you with this. Consistency isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about making the decision day after day to show up, even when you don't feel like it, even when the results aren't immediate, even when no one is watching. Because that's where true growth happens. That's where transformation occurs. That's where you build the foundation for everything you want to achieve. In my next video, I'll be sharing the hidden power of micro-habits, how small daily choices define your success. We'll explore the specific micro-habits that create a foundation for consistent performance, and I'll give you a practical framework for turning these tiny decisions into automatic behaviors that bypass motivation entirely. Remember, talent is overrated. Intelligence is not enough. Consistency, especially when it's difficult, is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who fall short. Discipline over motivation. Small actions over time. Trust through reliability. Embracing the boring. Pushing through resistance. These are the keys to true success. The question is not whether you can do it. The question is, will you force yourself to be consistent? Because when you do, you will be amazed by what you can achieve. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next. 1.